Okay. Like I said, this is real life, okay? All right, so first things first, even though I'm not following slides today, I do want to start off like I usually do by thanking you for sharing your time and your energy, because once, we use our time and energy, we can never get that back. So I really appreciate that. And I'm hoping that I can give you a little something that you can take, put in your pocket, use later, use now. And then as usual, at the end, we're going to talk about a takeaway and some things that you've learned during the session to make sure that you're actually gaining something from the time that we're spending. The other thing is I am coming to you from unceded Nipmuc territory. Part of the work that I do is discussing and talking about and owning our privileges and those spaces that we live in, so that we can continue to be grateful and to honor that the privileges that we have, and so that we can practice being like, if I know something is borrowed and it's not mine, I'm usually more likely to take better care of it, right? If it's mine, I just kind of toss it to the side or whatever. If it's somebody else's, I'm like, ooh, fold that, hang it up, because I'm giving it back. So we want to make sure, I want to make sure that when I recognize the land that I'm on, I treat it differently because I know it's borrowed, right? And then finally, this is a virtual reality. There are 2 small children in the next room. There are kids upstairs. I closed all the windows because there was dogs barking across the street, but that's the reality. If your animal walks across the screen or something happens and you need to step away, just let me know, because this is the life that we live these days. All right, so we're going to be talking about positivity and enthusiasm, and how a positive attitude can really change and affect every area of your life. Why do you think, as a student, that I have picked positivity as something that I think is important for us to talk about?
I think that like a lot of students don't go like into the semester with a lot of like enthusiasm. They're like, oh, like school starting again, not like, oh yay.
Yeah.
They're not really excited for it. So they kind of go in with that energy of just kind of ugh.
Yeah. And I'm sure you've had the experience, like you go into something with the energy of ugh, and then what does it feel like as you're moving through it?
Yeah, it just was exactly like that, just the whole time.
Yes, yes. So how do you think, you can keep yourself unmuted unless you have noise in the background. Yeah. How do you think a positive attitude can help shift or adjust where you're at in that space, particularly talking about going back to school and college?
I think it changes your perspective on how you're looking at it. So if you're looking at it through a different perspective, you'll see it in different ways.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so here's what we're going to do for today. I have a couple of different activities and exercises, and then we're just going to kind of like talk through them. So obviously, if anybody's watching this recording, you're going to get mine and Cassie's version, and you should have been here. And that way, if there's something else that you think of that contributes or answers any of these questions, you can put it in the comments when you send it to me if you want credit, so that you can get the stipend, because if you attend the majority of the workshops during the month, you get the stipend. Next Monday is a holiday, but I still want to do the workshop unless you kids are not available, because I want to try to keep it consistent as much as possible. So I'll check in with everybody on text and you can let me know. All right, so first question, what is a negative attitude? Like, can you give me an example of what that might look like or sound like? While you think about it, I'm just going to grab my water.
Like when you're going in for an exam and you're not feeling too confident about it, and you just keep, you're just thinking to yourself, you're like, I'm not gonna pass this. Like, there's no way I could pass this test. I don't know whatever the class is about or whatever, something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And like saying things like along the lines of what you just said, like, I'm gonna fail. That's it. I know I'm gonna fail. Yeah, for sure. How would that apply to like a job? What would a negative attitude look like or sound like at a job?
Thinking like, oh, like today's going to be so busy, it's going to be so hard, it's going to be such a long day, something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. You got it. And then what would that look like in terms of like your relationships? And that could be a relationship with your mom, or a relationship with your girlfriend, or a relationship with your dog, What would that look like in terms of your relationships, a negative attitude?
I mean, I think kind of overall, if you just have a negative attitude about most things, that it kind of carries over into everything else.
You got it. Yeah. And you know what it's so funny, because later in this lesson is the ripple effect, but you just brought it up. So I love that you brought it up, because then we can just go there. Tell me more about what you mean when you say it just kind of affects every area of your life.
I don't know, like from personal experience, if I would go like into a test and already had like not have a good feeling about it and be like, I'm gonna fail, then I'm already like in a bad mood for the day, then it can kind of set off something. So like if my brother were to, come up to me and bug me as he always does, usually it's pretty funny, but if I'm already in the bad mood,
Yes.
it's not going to be funny anymore, and I might snap at him or something like that, which would just create tension and more negativity, and it would just kind of pile up.
Yeah. And then what it does to him is that it puts him in a bad mood. Well, not always, depending on the kid, because some kids let it bounce right off of them and they're like, I don't care about you, I'm going to go back to playing. Right. But some people, especially adults, if you get treated badly, you then take that negativity and you go and you treat somebody else badly, or you get frustrated in traffic, or you're mad at the waitress, or, and it creates this like ripple effect. Oh, well, the beauty of that is that if we know that that can happen with a negative attitude, a lot of times people forget that a positive attitude is also contagious. We know it with negativity, but we don't really let ourselves like know it when it comes to positivity. I know, and this was just a couple of days ago, well, last Thursday, I was in a meeting and I was talking to some people, and like it was a live meeting and we're all masked up and 6 feet apart, and I'm doing my bit and I'm being like myself. And then one of the guys sitting over here, I had been to a couple of different meetings with him. He turns around and he says, I can't be in a bad mood around you. I know, you're welcome, right? Because I recognize that a positive attitude, enthusiasm, joy is also contagious. So rather than, and we're all going to have our days. I want to be clear. There are going to be days where you got a lot going on, or maybe you got some bad news, or maybe something's going on in your family, and you might not be like, yeah, everything's wonderful. That's not real. And I am not a proponent of pretending and faking. I am a proponent of honoring what is, and then looking for the best that you can find in those spaces, right? So like I try to make sure before I go into any room or any space, how am I showing up? What is the energy that I'm bringing into the room? Because I could want everybody else to be responsible for my happiness and my joy, but as you all know, that is not a thing. You are ultimately responsible for your life. You want to change your energy? You are responsible. She agrees. You see, she's telling us, like, whatever it is that you want more of in your life, you have to be willing to become it, to practice it in order to create and then attract it, right? Okay, so I'm gonna shoot out a couple of like little scenarios. Oh, wait, last question. Are our attitudes something that we're born with, or is it something we develop over time?
No, it's definitely, or I think like emotions themselves aren't a learned behavior, but how we react to them is the same as how we see them around us.
Yes, yes. Can you give me a little bit more or an example?
Um,
I know I kind of put you on the spot, but if you can't, that's okay.
See, my girlfriend, her grandmother, when her grandmother would get mad, she would always, like the silent treatment kind of thing. Like she would just stop talking for a while and be like, no, like you made me mad. I'm not talking to you for a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so my girlfriend used to do that for a while until one day I was like, okay, why are you doing this? Like, it's not helping anything. And she kind of took a step back and we talked about it for a bit. And, it was kind of like she's always seen her grandmother do that in any situation when she's upset or mad or whatever. So she doesn't know exactly how to do anything else. She knows there are other ways to do it, or at that point, but she didn't like physically know how to get herself to react a different way.
Right. Right. I love that example because one, we're talking about the matriarch of the family, right? So when you're talking about the matriarch of the family, what that really means is that everybody is paying attention to what that person is doing and then replicating those behaviors. And you're absolutely right. A lot of times people don't even realize that they're doing it. And we talked about this before, which is why the communication component is so important, that you have to say to the person, here's what you're doing, here's how it's hurtful, how can we do the work to change it? Because when we bring it up, they go, I don't do that. I've done this so many times. I have such a big family. And I'm like, do you realize you do this? I don't do that. Okay. Next time they do it, I'm like, you just did it. And they're like, damn it. And then the next time, like the third time is usually when they're like, oh my gosh, I do that. You do it all the time. Right. And so when we communicate it from a place of love, like you did, and you say, you know what, this is a problem. Now, when we're talking about, it's called stonewalling, when you shut down and you don't talk to somebody, you give them the silent treatment. There's a difference between, you made me mad, I'm not talking to you, you're not deserving of my love and my attention right now, which is harsh, it's mean, it's negative. And saying out loud, I'm upset and I need some space to process. Let me go over here and silently work this out and then I'll come back, right? Stand by. What is the problem? Why do you have a hood on? Like, she put her own hood on. Okay, she's getting a little tired. So again, that goes back to communication. Either you're stonewalling, which is not kind, or you're communicating and saying out loud, here's the issue. And that is also contributing to positivity, because you're speaking your truth from love and you're giving yourself what you need, which is self-care and self-love, which is positivity. A lot of times people think positivity is like smiles and magic and rainbows all the time. No, it's about honoring yourself, honoring the other people, speaking from a place of love. I remember when my daughter was little, it was like a series like this, like you get a series of cloudy days. And after like 2 or 3 cloudy days, she went to my desk, grabbed a Post-it note, drew a rainbow on it, and stuck it on the window. And I said, why did you do that? And she said, there's a rainbow out there somewhere. And I'm like, oh, this is so brilliant. She's so brilliant. And I remember writing it down and I thought, either there is a rainbow out there somewhere and you can go find it, or you can literally make your own. And I left the sticky on there. I have a picture where there's like 9 or 10 stickies of rainbows, because every now and then it would be cloudy. She would draw another rainbow and stick it on there. Sometimes they would have glitter, sometimes. So it was this window filled with stickies of rainbows whenever it was a cloudy day. That's what positivity is about, right? It's about honoring what is happening and then figuring out how you're going to create those shifts accordingly. All right, so I'm going to keep scrolling here. Let me give you a scenario. And your job at this point is just going to tell me whether that scenario is positive or negative, okay? So your boss asked you to help a coworker with a quick project. You don't really know this coworker and you're nervous about the project because it's something new that you've never done before. All right, here's the first response. You say, sure, I'm always interested in learning new things. Can you introduce us? I'm not sure who that person is. Positive or negative?
Positive.
And what components of that response made you realize it was positive?
That they communicated clearly that they're glad to help, but they just need a little bit of help, like being introduced to the person.
Yes. Oh, yum. Okay. Next response. No way. I don't know them and I've never done that before.
No, that's negative.
Obvious, right? It starts with no. What components of that made you realize that it was negative?
It just sounds defensive.
Yes.
It's like a fear response.
What's up, Mama? Here. You want to walk around? You want to follow around? Yeah. Hold on, let me give her a spoon. Here. Yeah, there you go. Keep yourself entertained. That's the thing I love about babies. It's like, here's a button. I mean, not a button, they would choke. But like, here's this one thing, and they're like, oh, they'll play with it for hours. It's awesome. Okay, next one. You go over to the new coworker, you introduce yourself. You let them know that you've never done this particular job before, but you're willing to learn if they're willing to teach you. Negative or positive?
Okay, that's positive.
Yeah. And what components of that made you realize it was positive?
Because you're still putting yourself out there and just stating that you don't know how to do this, but you're willing to try it anyways.
Yes. All right. Last one. You go over to the coworker and you say, hey, She told me to help you. I don't know why, because I've never done this before. What do you want? What do I do?
It's negative because it kind of puts up like the connotation that you're really just there because she told you to. You're not really engaging with the situation.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got it. All right. So then we usually, this is the point where, like, when I teach the workshop, we take a break and we talk about affirmations. But in this particular group, we've done so much affirmations and we talked about affirmations that I'm going to save that towards the end. So that way, you know, we're not just like beating a dead horse. All right. So the next thing that I want to share with you is I'm going to give you a scenario. And then this is a thing that I do. I don't know if it's an actual thing that people call it. I call it flip the script. And it's like when a scenario or a situation pops up, this is what I taught my daughter because she's in theater. So we started doing this thing called flip the script. And when a scenario or a statement pops up, how can we flip that negative to a positive and take something from it? How can we learn and grow, right? So this is a piece where we want to remember that failure is our friend. Failure is a stepping stone necessary to get closer to success. There's this great quote by Michael Jordan, and I'm going to actually try to find it real quick. And he said something like, I've taken 9,000 shots. I've failed, I lost however many games. I'm going to find it. Hold on. Images right here. This is one of my favorite Jordan quotes. I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and I missed. I failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed, right? He's considered one of the greatest basketball players of all time. And we have to, a lot of times we get into a spot where we fail. A class, a test, a paper, a moment. We miss a moment and we feel like, oh my God, I failed that person. But what we do a lot is rather than try to figure out how to flip the script and do better next time or learn, we just throw our hands in the air and we're like, I'm the worst, I'm horrible, or we try to avoid it and pretend like it never happened to begin with. Hi, love, you back? Come here. Yes, come here. Oh, yeah, Itty loves you. All right, so I'm gonna give you a scenario and then I want you to figure out, yes, what's a more positive response? I agree. All right, the first one is, I made a mistake in class and I looked stupid. How would you flip that to make it more positive or to at least like figure out how you can learn and grow from that particular statement? You want this bubble?
I like to say, like, I made a mistake, but I can look into it, see why that happened, and like how I can go from there.
Yeah, yes, very good. The one that I have here as the response, and this is not like the definitive answer, this is just another example, is mistakes are natural and normal. It's how we learn what not to do. I've dealt with them before and I can do this again, right? You wanna go see the cat? Go see the cat. All right, next one. I'll never be able to do this. How can you flip that or change that from a negative attitude to a more positive attitude? I'm listening. I'm just going to grab some stuff for the baby.
I like to say, I am learning how to do this.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the things that I want to remind you kids, and I call you kids, but I know you're young adults. One of the things that I want to remind you is we've all talked about the importance of taking a bigger project and chunking it down. So a lot of times we say to ourselves, I'll never be able to do this because it feels big and overwhelming. But the reality is if we made it into smaller bites, right? There's this saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So if we make it into smaller, like more portable bites, we'll be able to do one chunk at a time. And before you know it, you'll be able to complete the project, right? All right, here's the next one. I'm never going to be the smartest one in the class.
I can always try my best.
Yes, I love that. Good. What else? I want you to think about, when I say what else, what I mean is I want you to think about how can you flip this mentality of needing to compete? because competition is a negative mindset. So how can you flip that to something rather than needing to compete with everybody in the class, like you said, more like, how can I do better? How can I do my best? I don't have to be the smartest, right? Do you get what I'm saying? How would you flip that? How can you add to that?
To say I don't need to be the smartest in the class.
Yeah, yeah. But how could you, now there's more. So if you say, I don't have to be the smartest in the class, I don't want that to be a statement that you use to let yourself off the hook from even trying. What would be the follow-up piece to that that also helps you hold yourself accountable? You're right, baby girl, have some water, mama.
I don't have to be the smartest in the class, but I should always give it my best.
Yes, I love that. That is absolutely right. All right, hold on, give me a second so I can get to this. All right. Where's she? Okay, she's good. Next one. I don't understand this.
I don't understand this yet.
Oh, I'm so glad. I was like, please say yet, please say yet, please say yet. I'm not even kidding. It's so powerful, those three little letters, yet. If you say, I don't understand this yet, it means perseverance, right? If you say, I haven't figured it out yet, it means I'm creative and smart. Like adding the word yet changes most statements from a negative to a positive just because you're giving yourself room to, like, in the future, I know I'm going to figure this out, right? It's like, I'm sure when you started your job, there was some tasks that you had never done before. And now imagine if you were like, I'm never going to figure this out. It's over. Like, oh my God, just leave, right? But in your brain, you're like, I don't know this yet, but I'll learn it. We forget to apply that same mentality when it comes to other pockets and arenas of our life. All right, last one. I'll disappoint everyone if I change my mind.
Like changing my mind is my business and I don't need the approval of others.
Ooh, it sounds like you've been hanging out with me. Yes, I love it. Okay, good. So you learn how to differentiate between a negative and a positive attitude. We talked a little bit about failure, and we talked a little bit about this thing called flip the script. The other thing that I always like to share, and I probably shared it with the group before, I don't remember, is when we have a situation that pops off, I like to say, plot twist, and I think I shared this with you guys before, right? Did I share plot twist? And it's like when a scenario happens that you weren't expecting, then you can just kind of look at it and say, oh, plot twist, and it helps you stay in a more positive attitude, right? Okay, let me go back to my notes real quick. All right. Okay, so what are some ways that you can, let me back up. When you think about creating or finding your own rainbow, right? Because positivity is really going like, this room is a mess. Positivity is like, there's no mess. I don't see anything when the place looks like the Tasmanian devil went through it, right? So positivity is really about looking at what is and then trying to flip the script, plot twist, whatever you want to say, to like get to a more positive mindset. What are some ways that you can, in your everyday life, flip the script? I'll give you a quick example. You already named one when we were talking about the different scenarios and figuring out how we can change the way that we word them so that it feels more positive. And it also, we talked about this before, it changes the hormonal balance in your brain, which then opens up the frontal lobe, which is where solutions are generated, right? When we are negative and everything is the worst and, oh my God, that person is horrible and bad, it closes that and it feels defeated because literally that portal in your brain is not allowing things to flow. So by flipping it and like becoming more positive, we open up the frontal lobe, allowing more information to flow. So one of the things that you mentioned earlier was asking for help, being willing to ask for help. Again, that doesn't mean I'm going to pretend like I know what I'm doing. I don't know this, but I'm willing to learn. Can you show me? So asking for help is one way to maintain a positive attitude and enthusiasm for whatever you're doing. What are other ways that we can maintain a positive attitude and or enthusiasm?
Well, kind of similar to what you said, like with when you say like plot twist and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Um, when I'm like nervous about something or like something unexpected kind of happens, I kind of say to myself like, oh, this is fun. Like, what's gonna come out of this?
I love
Like
that.
it's kind of like, I guess if you're like watching like a movie or like a thriller or a mystery or something, you're kind of like, oh, like what's gonna happen next?
Yeah.
So it kind of, I guess it keeps me from like completely pushing it out as well because I do that a lot. And
Yeah.
it keeps me tied into it, so I'm not just like pretending it's not there, but also not freaking out over it. Just
Yeah.
kind of staying there, like in a curious mindset, like let's just go through this and see what happens.
Oh my gosh, for real, Cassie, like I love that. I love that. I have mine is like, well, another adventure. And I just like treat it like an adventure. And yours is very similar, but I love the fact that you use the word fun because again, we are creating our lives by the words that we use, right? Like our words are really powerful. They're energetic. So when you say fun, your body changes its hormones, your brain changes how it responds. Like I'm gonna start using the word fun now because like that's just a better word. And as soon as you said it, I got like all excited. It doesn't take much for me, but I did. I got excited. So thank you for sharing that. That's a good one. One of the questions for the rest of you who are watching this is going to be, what is a way or a statement or mantra that you have to flip it for yourself? So if you have something similar or something different, let me know. Share that in the when you respond to the email. All right, here. What are some other ways that we can look for or create our own rainbows in tougher situations?
Um, I always try to think, like like my first reaction to something isn't always what has actually happened. Like there's so many different perspectives
Yeah.
that it's not always just the first perspective. Like being like a cashier now, like there's some people that can kind of come off as rude at first
Yeah.
or something like that, but then I tell myself like, oh, like maybe they're anxious, so their voice just kind of came off in the way that sounds angry, but they're not. They were just trying to push out their voice, something like that.
Yeah.
So I always try to look on it as they're not a bad person. They're just, going through their day, going through whatever.
Right. Right. I
So it
love
kind of
that.
helps. So it helps keep me in a better mood because I'm not
Mhm.
like, oh, everyone's getting mad at me. It's just, people have bad days and it's just kind of how it happens.
Right. And it like I have that statement that I've shared with all of you before, like, oh, maybe their hamster died.
Yeah.
Right? Like without going too crazy and extreme, I want to treat them as compassionate as possible because I don't know what they're dealing with in their life. Right. And so you're absolutely right. That's a beautiful perspective. And it keeps you from taking things personal because a lot of times, like 99% of the times when someone's acting out a certain way, even if it's coming in your direction, it's usually not about you. Right. Especially if it's not like someone you're in a close, intimate relationship with. It's usually not about you. It's about what they're dealing with and what they're going through in their own life. Yeah, that's a great one. Okay, any others?
Um, Not that I can think of, no.
Okay. So some of the things that I have here is like that other people have shared in the past, and I just wrote them down. Ask for help, look for the bright side. Remember that people aren't against you. They're probably having a bad day, which is exactly what you just said, right? Look at failure as your friend. Practice gratitude every day. If someone is in a bad mood, what can you appreciate about them? That's a really good one too. Practice your affirmations. Talk to yourself how you would talk to a friend. Because a lot of times, as you know, we get caught up in our head and we go negative, 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 negative. If a friend came to us, we'd be like, oh my gosh, you can do this. You're amazing. I've seen how strong you are. We have to also get better at saying those things to ourselves because all of that is true. You are creative. You are capable. You have solved so many problems. You've overcome 100% of your worst days. You got it in you, right? We have to give those pep talks to ourselves when other people aren't available to do that for us. All right. And then one of the other things we talked about was like smiling. And I'm very aware when I share this, because I don't want to be like one of those people who like, oh, girls should smile more. I am not that. What I do know is that scientifically speaking, when we smile, it changes our hormones, it changes what happens in our brain, and it generally makes us feel better, and smiles are contagious. What's up, baby girl?
I need something.
What do you need, mama? Sorry, excuse me for 1 second. Thank you for your patience in these real life scenarios. Say hi. You say hi. You say hi. You say hi. No, don't touch. I love you. Don't touch. Okay. I always say I love you before I say no. So that I do that so that children, and this is also really important too, right? This is how I keep a positive attitude with kids. Kids here know a lot because they're reaching for plugs, they're touching stuff, they're trying to lick the bottom of a shoe. It's so weird. And instead of like, no, 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 which makes them feel like they're always wrong, I always say, I love you. Don't touch that. It's dirty. And if you eat that, it's going to get germs. Like, she doesn't understand that, right? So I always say, no, I love you. No, I love you. So that it's not like they love me when I'm behaving this way. I love you all the time. And it teaches them that they're unconditionally loved. You want to get down? You want to get down? You want to get down? You gonna stand? No. Look at bones on bones on bones. All right, good. We're almost done. Okay. So smiling. These are some body things that we can do to help alter our attitude just from our posture, right? Smiling, walking and sitting up straight. It changes the energy flow that's happening in our spine and in our central nervous system. When we talk to other people, making eye contact, right? And then trying as much as possible to prepare ourselves before we go into a situation. Like when I'm at home, I meditate in the morning. I like, in my imagination, I fill my house with love. Right? I go into my daughter's bedroom and I like cover her in love. And so I'm almost like preparing the space to be a place of love and joy. I imagine walking into the gym before I teach my class and like love and fun and joy spilling out of me. To some people, it sounds ridiculous, but it's a way that I energetically prepare before I get there. And I've had many times where women have come to my classes. What's up? What's up? Jaya, can you bring me her bottle, please? I've had many times where women come to my classes and they say, it's not just fun here, but I feel like there's love here. And I'm like, and energetic work is real, right? So it's a way that I also prepare without words, without even being there, just like moving energy. So when you're about to go to a class, you can imagine like, I'm gonna have a good time in class. I don't really know what that means, but I'm just gonna trust it's gonna work out in my favor. I'm gonna learn something new. Are you eating cat food? What are you doing? That was a piece of cat food that fell out of her mouth. Ew. She got there fast too. It's extra protein. Plot twist. Okay, so she'll be fine. It's all natural. I only feed my cat organic. And I know all the ingredients on the bag, so I feel all right about it. She's fast. So like energetically preparing before we take a test, you know, visualization. And next week, I want to talk more. Okay, here. Next week, we're going to talk more about visualization, and we're going to talk about what I call prepare the air, like getting ready before we even get there in our minds, in our bodies, and in our spirits, so that we can generate change by energetically in the spaces that we're in and just create more positive atmospheres around us, right? Because the people you hang out with or the people you spend the most amount of time with, either you become like them or they become like you. And it really is about who is energetically more powerful. And I don't want it to seem like it's a competition. because it's not. It's just like, if I'm more rooted in my positivity, people around me have no choice but to feel it, right? I know you probably met someone, or you know someone that when they're coming to a space, you get excited, like, oh my gosh, so-and-so's coming, because they usually have a good energy and they have a mood. They haven't even gotten there yet, and you're excited. And then there are people that if you find out they're coming, hold on, cat food. Oh, I love you. Okay, hold on, let me move the cat food. Almost, baby, almost. And then there are some people that when you find out they're coming and you know that they're negative, you are counting down the minutes. You don't want to deal. You're trying to figure out, like, can somebody in this family get sick so we don't have to go? Like, you don't want to curse your family, but you're almost like that, right? That it's that energy precedes us. So it's really, really important. And I wanted to make sure that I don't leave that out. And we're going to talk about that next week. All right. And then the other things that we can do at school and at work to help promote a positive attitude is give ourselves margins of time. So we're not rushing, because that makes it feel more pressurized, as well as driving is more dangerous when we're rushing. Sorry. Okay. And like showing up on time, showing interest, asking questions, acknowledging when you don't know something, and then having a willingness to learn and to grow and to learn new things, right? All right, last thing I want to show you. This guy, have you ever heard of Nick Vujicic?
No.
Okay, when I show you his picture, you might know who he is. Let me share. All right, have you ever seen this guy?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, this guy is a motivational speaker, a surfer, a painter, a husband, a father. He has 4 children. Let me see if it came up. Oh, my Wi-Fi is being weird today. Let me try to do this again. Reload. Yes, here it is. Okay. And he, like, his primary job is a motivational speaker. Here's the thing about Nick. His mantra in his motivational speeches is no legs, no arms, no excuses. He literally has no limbs. No limbs. We have a tendency, I'll show you this picture of his wife with his first son when they were first married. Let me share this with you. When I heard him speak, I listened to Tony Robbins, who is another motivational speaker, and I heard this guy. He shared the stage with this guy at this one talk. And when I saw this guy get on stage and the screen said, no arms, no legs, no excuses, he talked about the power of positivity. And it was like, whoa. And you know, I love gratitude, and I talk about the power of gratitude and the importance of gratitude all the time. He said, you know, he just reiterated, we spend so much time focusing on what we don't have and telling ourselves that sad, sad story, and then building and living in that negative story, that we forget that there's a whole life available to us. We forget about all the good things that happen, which is why I'm such a proponent of gratitude. I mean, not met him. I heard him speak recently. It was within the past 3 years, but gratitude practice has been in my life since I was in my 20s. So like almost 20 years now. But yes, his story reminds me. And his wife in an interview said, when she met him, she was blown away by his energy and his positive attitude, right? They have 4 children who have all their limbs. He has a very rare disease that he was born with. And again, it has not stopped him from living his best life. Like, let me see if I can find a picture of him on the surfboard. To watch him on a surfboard, I think to myself, like, we really have no excuses. Like, enough is enough. Let's see. Oh, this is him and his wife. Hold on. Right? Look at, like, seriously. And he's happy and he's positive, and he talks about, just like we've shared before, the dangers of comparing yourself to other people, because then you miss out on the magic that is your life. And I wanted to share him as the last thing that we talk about today, just as a reminder. Oh, see him right here surfing? Like, for real. Come on, right? Just as a reminder, one of my mantras is the most important thing that I have is the story I tell myself about who I am, what that means, and what I'm capable of, right? That story has to include positivity, enthusiasm, and joy. If it doesn't, I'm missing out on a big component of living my best life, right? Because as you said earlier, it creates ripple effects in every area of your life. When studies have shown that when people have a positive attitude, they do better in school, they do better at work, and they do better. I'm gonna pull it up because I have some of the data here. Here it is, right here. It says, studies have shown that positive people have healthier, happier, longer lasting relationships filled with more joy and love. Studies have shown that positive people get better grades, recall better memories about school, and have better interactions and relationships with school because they're more likely to ask for help and get the assistance that they need. And then at work, studies have shown that people with a positive attitude have greater longevity at the work if they choose to stay. They feel better about making decisions when it comes time to leave. They feel greater fulfillment in the work that they do. They're continuously learning and growing, which again contributes to fulfillment and satisfaction. And they're more likely to get a pay raise and a promotion more based on their attitude than based on their skills, because their attitude teaches their employers that they're willing to learn and grow. And that's one of the number one things that employers are looking for. Are you willing to learn and grow rather than the know-it-all who thinks that they have all the skills and everything that they already need, right? All right. So I want to wrap up with your takeaway, 2 of your favorite affirmations, and 3 things that you're grateful for. So 1, 2, and 3. Your takeaway, 2 affirmations, and 3 things you're grateful for. While you think about it, let me flip the rice. Oh my God, this smells so good. Oh my gosh, I love this song in Tangled. You know, when they're in the boat and the
Yeah.
it's so cute. Okay. Okay.
I think my biggest takeaway is actually what you were just saying about how the positive attitude and you can do better in work and you're more likely to, get a raise or promotion or whatever. So it kind of clicked in my head because since I've been working, I've been trying to have like a really positive attitude about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been working there for about like a month. But already one of the managers has asked me if I want to work, up at Mount Wachusett during the winter. So having like a full-on job there, not just the season.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
And then possibly being like a shift lead, which is like the person who's kind of running the store that day.
Yeah.
Up at the mountain already, and it's only been like a month since I've joined.
That's amazing, Cassie.
So it kind of just clicked to my head when you said that.
Yeah. And like to have someone like you who's like, I'm learning all these new things, I'm having fun, I'm meeting new people. Literally, when I used to do hiring, when I worked in businesses and I used to do hiring, that's what I looked for. More than what was on your resume. I'm looking for attitude and energy, and most people are. Like, congratulations, that's amazing. That's amazing. That speaks volumes about how powerful a positive attitude can be. Nice. All right, 2 affirmations. In terms of a positive attitude, if you already have them, you can just repeat them. And if you don't, we're going to add them, or by we, I mean you. You're going to add them to your affirmation list to continue to build your positivity.
One that I do have is like, today will be fun.
Ooh, love it.
I kind of just keep telling myself that over and over again. I'm like, no, today's going to be fun. Like, there's going to be something that's going to be fun and I'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, like when I'm having like a rougher day, I kind of tell myself like, oh, like today's going to be easy. Like I don't have to push myself to like that 110% that I, like to that same level that I usually do. I can just kind of, still give it a good effort, but I don't have to worry about, like being at the same level that I usually am, like in terms of like how much energy I have.
Yeah.
Because I literally just don't have that much energy for the day. So I don't have to push myself.
Right.
And
because your best for the day looks different from day to day, and you don't have to break yourself. Absolutely. That's perfect. Yes. And then what are 3 things about yourself, your life, that you're grateful for?
Um, well, I'm grateful that I graduated high school.
Yeah.
That, you know, like I kept pushing through all the hard moments because there was definitely a lot of them.
Mm.
But I just kept pushing through it. You know, like that kind of just kept telling myself over and over and over and over. I was like, no, like I'm gonna see graduation day. Like I'm gonna be there. Like that's it. Like I'm just gonna be there. That has to be it.
So wait, are you telling me that you told yourself a story and that story became your driving factor?
Pretty much, yeah.
Love it. Yes, because that's how it goes. So whether we tell ourselves a positive story, we tell ourselves a negative story, we're absolutely right. We're making decisions and either aligning or sabotaging, right? Like one or the other. That's excellent. Okay, nice.
And then also, you know, like how my stomach has been recently.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty much, you know, like the symptoms are almost gone of everything that I've been dealing with.
That's amazing.
Before, like I'd been telling myself, I'm like, I just gotta, you know, keep getting through this, and eventually we're gonna find something that works. You know, so I'm not in constant pain and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And eventually we did find it. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I guess similar to the first thing, you know, I stuck with the story of we are going to find something and it's going to work. It's just gonna take time.
Yeah. Yeah. And that all of that is a positive attitude, because again, you're not denying or pretending like everything is roses when it's not. You're in pain. You're honoring where you're at in your body, and then you're keeping a positive attitude saying, no, we're going to find a solution. And in doing that, you know, energetically, we have no choice but to attract it, right? Like we are creators. And so our words are like casting spells. I don't care how woo-woo that sounds. And the more that we use them, the more powerful they become, and they go out and find their likeness and bring it back to us. So you are absolutely right. So was that 2, right? Because you talked about school and then your health issues. Yep. All right, good. One more.
And I think just like over the past few years, like I guess getting out of that, it was like a mindset where it was just going day to day and that was it.
Mm.
You know, like I didn't think of anything else. It was just what was in the moment and that was it.
Yeah.
Kind of things. Over the past few years, I've really, you know, began to like, I guess, have thoughts in my head, I guess.
You've
So like
always
I've
had thoughts in your head.
yeah. But I guess like to say that I guess I give myself time to think about things now.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying no, it doesn't exist. Like I used to always do that.
Yeah.
But like over the past few years, I've given myself time to think about anything and everything. And so I've learned so many things about myself that, you know, 3 years ago I would have had no idea about.
Yeah. So like,
You know, like I'm
because
learning about like,
you're talking about self-awareness?
yeah,
Yeah.
that, and just like learning like who I am like as a person, not just the things that I do, but like, you know, like the interests that I have and the career that I'm after and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. And that is self-awareness, because self-awareness isn't just like the subconscious stuff and like, why do I do what I do? It's also like, what do I like? Who am I? How did I get here? Do I like this sweater? Right? Like that. So like it's all of those little pieces. And it could be, like you said, like a really fun adventure in figuring it out and growing. And the fact that you're open to it is a positive attitude, because a lot of people will run from themselves. That's why they're either on a device, on a screen, talking to somebody, because they run from themselves, right? How do you think that that contributes to a positive attitude?
And I think when you're just more open to things, it can be risky because you're allowing like possible positive or negative things to come into your life. But if you're just shutting everything out, you knock the chance of any of that happening. So you're
You're
just
right.
staying the same.
Yes, 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 yes. Growth, and then joy, and then more fulfillment, and more freedom, and more prosperity, and more abundance, and more love, and more joy. Yes, absolutely. All right. Do you have any questions about anything we talked about?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Cassie, for joining me tonight in the midst of the crazy. It's not crazy, it's life, right? Yes. So thank you for joining me in the midst of all of this and actually taking out the time. And the rest of y'all who said you would be here, I'm disappointed. Period. I'll be reaching out to all of you. So I'm gonna send this with the questions, and then if you want the credit, you answer the questions and get those back to me. This is perfect timing because she's starting to get fussy, and I gotta go make her a bottle. And I appreciate you. And you know, we have a session already on the books for next week. But if anything comes up between now and then, let me know. And then I'll get back to you guys about Monday because it is a holiday, so I don't want to take that away from anybody. But if we're not doing anything, we can knock out another workshop, right? And if anybody has any like questions or themes or topics that you want to talk about, let me know so I can create workshops around those too. Okay. All right. I appreciate you, Cassie. Thank you so much for joining me.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Have a good night.